Order. Okay, let's have a roll call.
"21 supervisors are present. Supervisors Carroll and Rose are excused."
Citizen comments. Are there any citizen comments? Any citizen wish to speak? Please state your name and address.
My name is Marita Huff. I'm at 7939 34th Avenue, Kenosha, Wisconsin. Kenosha County currently, and for the last 13 years, has had a knowledgeable engineer, project engineer, for managing major projects. I read in the Kenosha News that he saved the county $500,000 on projects. One of the gentlemen from the county highway department over here said he's worked with Frank and that he has seen him save multiple millions of dollars on many projects quietly, without fanfare, just by doing his job extremely well. Some Kenosha board members have become spoiled with such good work and think that any old contractor can do just as well. The vast majority of construction projects completed in 20 countries over the course of a 70-year period found that 85% experienced cost overruns. The overall average overrun was 26% of the total project budget. That same statistic came up in several places. The Finland site said that 86% of the projects had overruns of 28%. So why would we even consider eliminating this position when there's $400,000 available from the county, from the state highway refund money, if you didn't have it anywhere else? Instead, you want to make a hybrid position with a low education requirement and a high salary. Wonder whose nephew's going to get that position. Anyway, perhaps you needed to let, maybe the county executive prove that how good a tight budget they can write, but the budget isn't going to look that tight when the cost overruns start adding up. The donors those issuing a $675,000 grant for the repair of the ceremonial courtroom have faith in our current project engineer and are nervously considering withdrawing funds if he is fired. Whoever had this idea evidently felt that you needed to do an end around the Public Works and Facilities Committee. That step bypassed the committee, showing disrespect for the committee and for Sherry Billingsley, who were all very surprised to see that the budget deleted 3 positions. I suppose you were afraid it wouldn't make it through committee. I hope that you have the sense to reconsider this decision and keep this project engineer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address.
Rob Stetcher, 43386 Park, and good evening and holiday to you all. I'd like to say happy holidays, but to me and my family and my coworkers, it is not going to be happy holidays. I had to have the most difficult conversation with my children recently and explain to them this year I will not be able to buy them Christmas presents. My son asked me why. I told him I lost my job at no fault of my own. My son asked me, whose fault is it? I explained it's a group of people I don't work with making this decision. He replied, that doesn't make sense. I've been a Kenosha County highway worker since 2014, and many of you probably don't even know what I do until my truck wakes you up in the middle of the night pushing the snow off the road, or a riot fence needs to be installed around an entire city block, or a pothole develops in the road that you hit on your way home from work, or that skunk that gets hit in your neighborhood, stinking up your entire neighborhood that magically disappears. These are just a few of the things that we do, but there's so much more. My coworkers and I plow the streets day and night, heavy snow, ice-covered roads. I'll never know how many accidents our hard work has prevented. I just know without us, you all would be stranded. I hear many times how much nicer the roads are in Kenosha County. We don't have special trucks or salt, but we do have special people at the Kenosha County Highway Department. Special people that are willing to work up to 16 hours straight to keep the roads clear. Special people that are willing to give up their holidays with their families to work to keep the roads clear. Special people that do not travel to Grandma's house for Thanksgiving and her amazing homemade apple pie because she lives more than an hour away from the Kenosha County Center, and all of us have to be within 1 hour of call at work, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The people of Kenosha County cannot afford to lose any more of these special people. Recently in the news, a board member stated closing the parks for winter to save on snow plowing costs. Millions of LARPA dollars have already been spent on paving roads and parking lots. Plowing roads, in addition to safety, is also done to extend the life of the pavement surfaces. As water freezes, it expands. It's not ideal for parking lots or roads. Expanding water can cause damage to the pavement in the form of expanding cracks or crumbling. Cold weather and freeze-thaw cycles start to cause damage to the asphalt surface when the snow melts, and it can get under the subbase and compromise the structural integrity of the pavement, destroying the road and the parking lot, destroying of millions of dollars we've already spent. Kenosha County's population has a growth rate of 12.6%. Kenosha County roads have been expanded to keep up with this growth, but the highway department's FTE numbers have not grown. They've actually gone down, way down. When I started here, I had to take an entry-level exam in the college auditorium with over 300 other people for one open position. This year, the HR department had a job posted for the highway department open for over 100 days for 5 open positions. 80 applied, 17 were qualified, 1 accepted the job. Finding people to work at the highway department is not an easy thing to do. Just ask the HR department. The highway department simply cannot afford to lose any more of these special people. November 13th, the Kenosha News had an article that stated, Kenosha County Committee works to reprioritize the 2023 capital projects after bonding authorization fails to pass. That same article, a board member was quoted saying, quote, what happens to the employees of the county highway department that build or repair the roads when the money to fund the position is not approved? There's a potential for layoffs, said the finance director. I've been told about 20 layoffs. This is not a confirmed number, end quote. The following day, November 14th, the HR department had scheduled interviews for 9 people that applied to the highway department for 4 open positions. 2 people didn't even show up for a scheduled interview the day after the finance director was quoted in the Kenosha News about the potential layoffs. Coincidence? The highway department simply cannot afford to lose any more of these special people. Just a few weeks ago, after working my normal 10-hour shift, I went home, had dinner with my family, and I received a call telling me to come back to work. I asked why. A spotty ice storm came through. It wasn't in the forecast. 2 hours after I left work, I went back to work, got in my plow truck, and started driving around looking for ice-covered roads. I found that at the county intersection of H and KR, as my plow truck went sideways through that intersection. If you want to feel every muscle in your body tense up, take a 70,000-pound truck sideways through an intersection. By the way, the car you drove here tonight on average weighs 4,000 pounds. As I close today, please remember what a county board member means. It's a person elected to represent the constituents. The highway department simply cannot afford to lose any more special people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address.
Amanda Becker, 1807 81st Street, and thank you all for your service. I'm here to express my disappointment in the board leadership regarding the bonding impasse. 3 critical positions were eliminated from the county's budget without just cause and a solid plan to fulfill their duties, leaving a glaring gap in the services the county provides to the community. 6 supervisors bravely decided to vote against bonding and identified multiple opportunities to fund the positions with minimal to zero impact to the community. My understanding is that discussions have stalled since the 11/11 meeting to present the funding options. Not passing the bonding will impact several services that are vital to our community, and I think you heard it very clearly from the gentleman who just spoke, the significant impact, and that's just on one individual. There's a potential loss of $350,000 in contributions to aid in uptown redevelopment, up to 24 layoffs in the highway division, loss of funding for body cams and squad cars for the sheriff's department, loss of a generator for Brookside Care Center, loss of heating and air conditioning improvements for the Kenosha County Detention Center, the stalling of several major road and highway projects, the loss of an almost $700,000 grant to the county, and closure of county parks this winter. As a constituent, I ask that you work together to solve the impasse so as not to risk the projects and the lives that I just mentioned. You are all elected to represent our community and to be good stewards of our resources. It's critical that you work together to resolve the issue at hand and lead. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address.
Good evening, Kevin Mathewson, 5606 6th Avenue, 2295 is the unit number. I agree, county roads are better than cities. If there's anybody here that disagrees, raise your hand. Okay, settled. All right, I think there's some misunderstandings here. The state legislature, in its immense knowledge, passed a law decades ago that said if you want to borrow money, you need a supermajority, 75% of the vote. Because back then, you didn't usually borrow money, you just paid for the stuff with what you had. It's an old, outdated law, but what does that mean at this level is it all takes is 6 of a 23-member body to stop all of the borrowing. 6. So I don't think anybody would like a Congress that needs 75% to pass. Nothing would ever happen. Let's all agree on that, right? You can't get 75% to choose where the seats go. I mean, it's hard to get people to agree on stuff these days. So the vast majority of this county board voted for the budget that pays these hardworking employees, the deputies that keep us safe from crazy people that want to jump over the thing. But these 6 people, let's look at why they did this. Remember Hillary Clinton, how it was her turn? And everybody was freaked out. Oh my God, it was her turn. Well, that's kind of what happened here in this room. Supervisor Uhas, it was her turn. But when the voters spoke,
Hold on. Try not to mention any.
Sure. So a member of this
Supervisor,
board thought it was her turn to be the chairman, right? The board, the electorate sent new people here, and they rejected that person to be the county board chairman. So this person led a revolt of 6 people to hold hostage the budget for these guys and for the projects.
Can also the supervisor please not laugh when somebody else is talking? Thank you. I will let 10 seconds.
So this group of 6
Okay,
people.
hold on. I know we need the car, okay, from everybody in the audience, but I think we should start with the supervisors. And I don't think anybody should laugh at any comments that anyone is making. Whether we like them or not, everybody's got the rights to state what they wanted in a civil way. So please, let's keep to that. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have to use names, but I won't use them disparagingly. But I'll name the 6 people who voted against the bonding. We have Supervisor O'Day, Supervisor Uhas, Supervisor Berg, Supervisor Gens, Supervisor Kubicki, Supervisor Gashke. Those are the 6 you should be upset with. Send them emails. They voted against all these projects, the generator, the body cameras. You want to blame 17 for the actions of 6? That doesn't make sense, even to the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, of Kenosha County. That doesn't make sense. You blame 17 when 6 got together because they didn't like the result of election. I think that's not a good way of thinking, okay? So I happen to be paying attention to what's going on because I'm a journalist and I want to know and I want to tell people. There's been negotiation, there's been offers to restore one job or whatever. But when you have 6 people who say, we want everything or nothing, that's not a good way to negotiate. That's not good faith. So the generator not going to Brookside to take care of those sick people when the power goes out, it's on you 6. The Joint Services Emergency Dispatch 911 systems to dispatch firefighters and police officers and ambulances, when they don't get paid, that's the 6 of your fault. The road projects that these guys work their asses off, butts off to pave and stuff, that's your fault. Those 6 names, remember them. It's partisan. They didn't like the way of this, who gets to sit up there. I guess that's your right. But let it be clear who's in charge. Do you blame the 17 who worked together and made changes to a budget to make things more efficient and less money on the taxpayers? You work at the government. Every single one of you on this side of the wall could be fired at any election. Nobody's job is guaranteed. Public sector, private sector. Nobody fired anybody. Jobs were condensed to make sense. I like when my government combines jobs that are useless. We had a guy who was paid to go do customer service. You know, what? And that was a job created for that person. And I won't go into why, but I'm sure some of you know. So there's still going to be a person to do those projects. So it's not like we're going to have to start paying all these consulting fees like it was suggested. They're going to open up that job to somebody with an engineer certificate. And there's going to be somebody that's going to be able to do that. So IT, there's a lot of people in IT. I mean, you got to look at efficiencies. COVID hurt a lot of people. And when we have to pinch pennies at home, but the government, oh, you can't fire anybody. You can't create any efficiencies. I just don't get that. But remember, guys, there's 7 people that are causing the situation that you're in. The other 17 wanted to keep you guys at work and keep all these projects going. So don't listen to the narrative. It's false, and it's meant to rile you up. These 17 did a good job. Good job. To the other 6, stop playing politics. Vote for the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen wish to speak? Please state your name and address.
I'm Gail Clark Taylor. I reside at 7624 18th Avenue. I'm here tonight after an absence of a couple of months. I come back to Kenosha, my hometown, and find that we are embroiled in a controversy again. I've been trying to figure out why this is happening, and the previous speaker spoke a little bit to that issue. If we choose to blame the state legislator for creating this situation, then logically we need to carry this forward. After the state legislator created this law, perhaps we should be blaming the county executive who designed a budget that she knew not everyone could agree to. Then we can say, okay, we're going to blame this all on that small group that did not vote to bond the budget. Okay? But then we get to the point of the group that proposed removing very good projects and employees from the budget, not logically connected to the reason that the original group was unhappy with the budget. So we arrived tonight, previously tonight, at who is at fault, but more importantly, who is responsible for taking care of this. It is ultimately the responsibility of the county executive to work this through. It is ultimately the responsibility of all of you to work together to address the concerns that any of you might have and to create a budget that is good, acceptable to all of you, but also good for all of the employees of the county and good for all of the citizens of the county. And that's where I come to a phrase that my mother said. For those of you that are younger than me, my mother said, "I'm going to fix your little red wagon." That was a statement of saying, someone in power saying to someone younger than them, someone in less power, of I don't like what you did and I'm going to get revenge on you. It's going to be something totally unrelated to why I'm upset with you. What I think we have going on here is a lot of people wanting to fix the little red wagons of the people that voted against the bonding. This is not what we elected you for. We did not elect any of you to be in a popularity contest. We did not elect any of you to align with one side or the other. And we did not elect you to totally ignore the needs of the county employees and the county's citizens. Thank you. Do not fix this little red wagon. It's not broken.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address.
Heidi Helgeson, 6507 40th Avenue. Hi. Here we are. I would like to thank the supervisors who decided not to bond this budget. My understanding, and I understand that this is a complex issue, but was that the original budget had all the positions in it, and it was kind of suddenly or mysteriously or maybe a little bit underhandedly changed. And the information that I've had, I read a letter that explained how these positions could be reinstated. There should be working together. And what I'm understanding is that people are refusing to work together. People are digging their heels again. What my friend just said, it's time to work together. It's time to have good faith negotiations. And when sorry, I lost my train of thought. I had to go off book here. There were so many good arguments and so much good discussion about why these positions should remain intact. And, oh, that was the thing, is I'm not hearing any kind of discussion. I tried to contact my supervisor to make an explanation of what is going on. What is your side of this? What is your defense of this? Whatever decision you make. I have not heard any reason why it is a good idea to eliminate these positions. And so that's where we need to get to, is common ground and speaking. And I would just say that I would hope that there would be some thoughtful, some thought given to who gets spoken to, reprimanded, and called out in these meetings for the type of behavior that these guidelines are calling to, because it's not being done on an even and fair basis. And please go back, listen to what is being said and what you say, and who you're calling out, and determine if it's fair, and be a good human being. And if you've made a mistake, call yourself out on it and act with integrity. Thanks.
Thank you. I will take your advice and think about that. Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address.
My name is Bruce Milne. I live at 9936 50th Avenue in Pleasant Prairie. And I come to speak opposed to the budget that's been proposed. I think that these 6 supervisors have made counteroffers that are reasonable. The original budget included these 3 positions. And now you want to cast it aside for, I think, partisan reasons. And the math doesn't add up. You're willing to risk losing a $700,000 grant in order to, as opposed to the $400,000 for the 3 positions. It doesn't make any sense. The math doesn't add up. And I think the county board is playing a game of chicken. You're trying to make it seem that you're going to actually cut these county workers. You know you won't do that, but you've got to compromise. There have been reasonable solutions proposed that you just won't accept. And to put these people over here in the county in danger of losing their jobs is unconscionable. And you know it is. They do a great job, and you guys are playing politics, and I'm just ashamed of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address.
Cody Kraus, 715 Torrey Pines Drive, Twin Lakes, Wisconsin. I read the article online, comments about the parks weren't really being used in the winter, and I just want to publicly say that they are. I feel like number one thing over in western Kenosha County is the awesome sledding hill at Fox River Park. I see young families out there using that all the time. I think these are the families that we want to have in our communities. And, you know, when you have a snow day as a kid and you have school is out, you go sledding. That's what you do. And to close the parks is like terrible because it's such an awesome sledding hill. If you guys check it out if you haven't. The second group of people that use the parks are dog owners. The Bark Park north of Twin Lakes is commonly used in the winter, and I think closing that down would be terrible. Third group of people, I'm talking really fast, is the disc golf community. I'm a big disc golfer, and we have Fox River Park, Silver Fox, and you know, they're used all the time in the winter. We go out there, we were just out there this last weekend, so I think closing the parks would be terrible. But really, that all pales in comparison to these guys here. I can't even imagine like thinking I might lose my job in 2 months. That would be terrible, even less than 2 months. My friend just recently joined these highway workers. His name's Robert. And I think Kenosha County should be an employer that, you know, people can trust. And this guy's new here, and he's like, man, I don't even know if I'm going to have a job. And now I just feel like if this happens, or even the possibility of it happens, it makes Kenosha County look like a bad employer. And I don't want that to happen. I feel like we should be recruiting people, you know, to help these guys out. So that was my comments. Have a good time, and thanks for everything you do.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address.
Jody Meerhoff, 7220 First Avenue. At the November 15th County Board meeting, a citizen said that earlier this year, she had listened to speaker after speaker at county board meetings speak against a proposed gun resolution. She noted those people said there was an overwhelming number of people who contacted supervisors in opposition. She then said the response by voters to the Second Amendment sanctuary state question on election day settled this issue. It's crazy there have been enough gun resolutions passed by this board that citizens can get confused when talking about them, but that's our unfortunate reality. Speaker after speaker did come to county board meetings earlier this year to oppose a significant gun policy change. Many of them said there was overwhelming opposition to that policy change, which would allow guns into county buildings and parks. And those speakers knew the opposition to that policy change was overwhelming because there was an open records request that showed it was. 80% of citizens who emailed their county board supervisors were opposed to the change. The number of speakers who came to meetings and spoke against that policy change prior to the vote was also 80%, with 4 speakers against the change for every 1 speaker who supported it. The majority on this board still went on and approved that gun policy without completing a fiscal analysis to determine the financial impact of the change on the county, without polling county employees to see how they felt about it, and despite the overwhelming response from the community against it. Supervisor Gens felt the community should have been given a chance to vote on that policy in November. Unfortunately, the majority on this board did not want or care to hear from the community on that policy change, apparently believing the citizens of Kenosha County didn't deserve the right to vote on a controversial policy change with the potential to impact the lives of the people in our community. The majority on this board did choose to put the Second Amendment sanctuary referendum on the November ballot that the speaker thanked you for at last month's meeting. it was a useless question regardless of the result, because local and state governments don't get to pick and choose which laws they like and feel like following and which they want to ignore. So that speaker was mistaken. When it comes to having guns in our buildings and parks, the voices of county employees and the people in Kenosha County were never allowed to be heard on Election Day. I'd also like to address the current stalemate in our county funding. For years before this, county leaders have managed to successfully negotiate difficult budgets and fund county projects, even though people didn't always agree with one another. Yet now we have a new county board chair and a new county executive who appear willing to allow Kenosha to lose critical services and jobs like these guys right here because they are unwilling or unable to negotiate to solve this budget issue. 6 supervisors voted on November 2nd to save vital services for our county. They considered the financial impact and the value of services to county residents, then they voted to save 3 positions that help deliver those important services. After the November 2nd vote, those 6 supervisors continued to work to preserve those vital services. They brought well thought out proposals to the county executive and county board chair. Each of their proposals would both preserve those services and would have had minimal or no impact on Kenosha taxpayers. Yet those supervisors have not been met by leaders equally willing to work together for the best interests of the people of Kenosha County. Instead, our new county executive and our new county board chair have given media interviews indicating they will allow this stalemate to threaten numerous county jobs and defund critical county services like road maintenance, law enforcement services, and access to parks, rather than trying to work cooperatively towards a solution that is best for Kenosha residents. This is bad for our county. I hope our county board chair and county executive will rise to this occasion and pledge to work with these 6 supervisors to solve this impasse. The people of Kenosha County are counting on you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen wish to speak? Please state your name and address.
My name is Mike Feast, 23950 125th Street in Trevor. I've been on paternity leave since October 30th. Normally I would have wrote something up for this, but I've been dealing with other things, and I just found out about this, and I hope that we can find a way to work together here. I don't know one side from the other, who's voting what. Like I said, I've been in a cocoon, my own little place for a while. But please don't put this on the backs of hardworking individuals. Let's find another way to balance this. The anxiety alone, being a new father, is enough to deal with, and I don't think it should be put on the backs of 60 guys here. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address.
My name is Andrew Burns. I live at 209 West Wisconsin in Silver Lake. That's Silver Lake, not Salem Lakes. I'm a proud member of the Kenosha County Highway Department for 12 years, and we don't do what we do because it's a job. We take pride in what we do. Don't want to be in a truck 16 hours a day, but my family's on those roads, my friends are on those roads, you guys are on those roads. We do it so that everybody can get home safe. Christmas, Thanksgiving, we're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we do it because we're proud of what we do. In my section, if there's an accident, I feel responsible. Did I do something wrong? Did I not do this? Did I not do that? Because I take pride in what I do. And I will say this, I've been there 12 years. We've got new leadership, and within 1 week, that new leadership was down listening to what we had to say. In 12 years before that, the old county exec, never met him, never saw him. I know people feel certain ways about people and how they do that, but I'm in it. I'm there, and I see it. And these people are there listening to our complaints and our concerns and helping us out. That hasn't happened to me in 12 years. So I know people have their feelings about, what people do and how they vote and things like that, but I just want to make that known that I'm in the, down in the trenches, and these people are listening to us and helping us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen wish to speak? Please state your name and address.
Josh Perbilski, 5322 46 Ave, Kenosha. Again, I don't know who's to blame, and at the end of the day, when it comes to what we do, I'm at the Highway Department. I'm not telling you that we don't care. We'd love to meet with both sides and try to explain to you what we see, and you guys can explain to us what's going on. We had a meeting in the beginning of November. It's our plow meeting, right? You get your plow folders, and Clement tells us how great we did over the summer and the spring on the roads and the paving and the drainage. Good job. All the emails he gets, thanks us. We had 2 more of our bosses come up and say, we're #1 in efficiency at removing snow in the state. All looking at each other, kind of shocked, proud, great, that is awesome. Kenosha roads are clean. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, we are hearing this news, right? So I go home, tell my wife, she's like, wow, that's great to hear. Week later, she reads the paper. Well, you guys are getting laid off? I'm like, what are you talking about? We just were told how great we were doing. And she's like, it was in the paper. You're talking about layoffs, this and that. And I'm like, no way, that's no way. 2 weeks later, still talk. Every day we go to work, it's obviously top of subject. We're pretty concerned about our gig. So if we're expected to work through this winter, come spring, get laid off, wait till next winter, and come back with big smiles on our face, wow, I'm glad to be part of this team. My wife's like, what happens in the summer when Joey gets hurt playing baseball? Do we have insurance? Those are good questions. I have no idea how that works. But am I going to sit around and wait till the winter comes and come back? Obviously, we pretty appreciate it if we're being threatened with layoffs. It's kind of hard to deal with even sleep, let alone the holidays coming up. So I guess I'm not one to beg, but when it comes to my family and my livelihood, I beg you guys to come to some kind of resolution. Maybe Joey can get his new bat for baseball, or, I can get some sleep. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen wish to speak? Please state your name and address.
George R. Excuse me. 7801 88th Avenue, Pleasant Prairie. Kind of fun, huh? We've been doing this all year long. And the Chinese have a blessing that's actually a curse. It says, may you live in interesting times. This is the most interesting board I think has probably ever happened. We start out here by obliteration by fiat of the 2011 no gun policy in the face of strong citizen input against. Followed with the declaration that Kenosha is now a Second Amendment sanctuary in the face of strong citizen input against. Something happened today that kind of impacts on that. 152 mayors just sent a letter to the senators saying to lighten up on the guns. You guys have decided that any gun regulation at all is unconstitutional. Now, I'd like to know why the corporate counsel sitting there, aren't you supposed to be aiding these people into not walking into illegal situations, that's an illegal situation where they get to declare unconstitutional any gun law. I don't really care. I have a gun, and I'm going to be coming in here with my gun strapped, just like you guys are. That's not going to solve anything. Next, we have a new dictate that rewrote how county employees are terminated in the face of strong citizen input. The face of strong citizen input against. Then the referendum on the November ballot comes up, and I was in that meeting where somebody didn't want to explain any deeper on the referendum what it really meant. You don't know how many people I heard didn't understand the referendum. Sanctuary means good. Well, no, sanctuary means you guys, led by a 11-year at least member here, has decided that guns are more important and any rule against guns is bad, unconstitutional, and you let that slip into the ballot, and the ballot happened to win. You've already mentioned in the paper that maybe there was some confusion about it, but it didn't affect the vote much. I bet it did. If you would have told them that that means that there is no such thing as a gun law that is constitutional in this area, maybe they would have voted differently, but you don't want to know that. Now we come to the impasse about the bonding. And no, it's not the 6, or as you ended up saying, the 7, who are at fault here. You've been doing this by fiat all year long. Create a rule, jam it through. Get us to believe that maybe you're going to do a vote, and you're not here, so the supervisor takes over, and suddenly there's no vote. It's not going to be on the ballot. Come on, guys, you can only go fiat so often. Negotiation is what you need to do, and you guys need to negotiate. They are standing up for what they believe is a reasonable concept. But negotiation requires two sides, and somebody, including the county executive, needs to sit down and negotiate. 30 seconds remaining. I already did the corporate council, so I guess I'll just kind of forget about the rest of this because there's not really much here. But you guys are a huge disappointment, and it's all MAGA Republican crap that's going on here. When are you going to get tired of it? The things will turn around, and then you'll be on the backside.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Any other citizen comments? Any other citizen comment? Seeing none, citizen comments are closed. Okay. Few announcements from me. We have 5 of the youth in governance. However, I didn't get all the names, so what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So if we can start from this end. Could you please tell us your name and which committee you are at? Thank you for coming. Okay, just a couple things. It's a reminder on everybody's desk was a statement of economic interest, and if you don't have it done yet, if you fill it out, Reggie can notarize for you. Also, a reminder that next meeting on the 20th, we're not going to have it as usually. We'll have our Christmas party at that time. If you're wishing to attend, please let Reggie know. On a good note, we had the meeting over Brookside yesterday, and I'm glad to say that we hired somewhere between 10 and 15 new CNA in the last month, and we're going to be opening up one of the wings. So that's really good. Willowbrook is doing good, and right now we're at full capacity. Also, the executive committee meeting was moved. We're going to have it on December 15 at 6 o'clock. So anybody is welcome to come. Supervisors' reports, and I believe Supervisor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few things to report to my colleagues tonight. First, I want to start with, since our last county board meeting, an email was sent to the county board regarding the ceremonial courtroom project and some grant funding that was written about in the Kenosha News. In the email, for those who may not have had a chance to read it, Mr. Jeffries conveys to the county executive as well as to the Blue Ribbon Committee, he is, quote, 100% behind the project, and goes on to say later in his email that his views on the article that the Kenosha News did were, quote, getting blown out of proportion, end quote. It's a little disappointing, in my personal opinion, that the Kenosha News has not done a follow-up story to convey this message from Mr. Jeffries, but I think it's important that our constituents know and all of us know that Mr. Jeffries and the Jeffries Foundation have absolutely no intention of pulling the grant and remain committed to the project regardless of who takes the lead on it, on the county side of things. Moving from there, I want to bring to you all an opportunity to help fund a local low-income student attend their trip to Washington, D.C., their 8th grade trip. As some of you may know, in years past, I have partnered with K-Tech, a local choice charter school, part of KUSD here. They have 2 campuses, and once a year, I will attend either in person or digitally a chance to sit down and talk with their social studies students and let them know what it's like to be in local government, what local government does for them, and how they can get involved. It's always been a thing that's been close to my heart, seeing as I was a K-Tech student years ago, and I think it really puts in perspective to these students, many of whom live in lower income parts of our community, that they, like I, can do it. If they want to be part of local government, there's nothing stopping them someday. But this year I worked with their teacher, Mr. John Ward. He's the one who puts together their 8th grade trip every year, and I reached out to him and I said, hey, with the holiday season and the season of giving, is there something that I can do to help your students? And his idea that we came to was helping fund this trip for an 8th grade student. And we're not going to name the student just for privacy reasons, but it's a week-long trip. On Monday, they're going to leave. This is at the end of the year. Monday, they're going to leave for Williamsburg, Virginia. Tuesday, when they arrive, they will tour Jamestown settlement and get a hands-on perspective of the first successful colony in the U.S. Students will have lunch at the settlement and load their bus to drive to Colonial Williamsburg to take a guided tour of the area known as Revolution City to see how the country fought and debated for independence many years ago. In this area, students will get to tour several historic areas, including the governor's mansion, and see how people lived during this turbulent time. After the tour of Williamsburg, students will head to Washington, D.C. When arriving in D.C. the next day, they will tour Arlington Cemetery, then head to the National Mall to visit the Air and Space Museums, the Native American Museums, and the National Archives. Students will then take the night tour and see the monuments at night when they're all lit up, and then take a group picture at the White House. On Thursday, students will attend Ford Theater and take a tour the White House, and visit the Capitol building and the Supreme Court building as well. Students will finish the day at the American History Museum. Afterwards, and after dinner, they will load the bus and drive to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Once students arrive, they will take a tour of Gettysburg, learning about the different issues that the citizens of Gettysburg went through during the Civil War, while also hearing a ghost story or two. And they will wrap up their trip on Friday, the 19th of May. Students will tour the battlefield of Gettysburg for approximately 4 hours, stopping at the Eternal Flame, Little Round Top, the rail cut, which for those of you who may not know, the 2nd Wisconsin saved the day as it goes, and the battle for the Union. They'll also tour Pickett's Charge, the Pennsylvania Memorial, and students will have lunch on the battlefield and see a presentation. Afterwards, students will be taken to the National Cemetery and see and learn where Lincoln gave his famous Gettysburg Address. Students will then be taken into the town to see historical areas and have dinner at the town's oldest existing restaurant. I think this is an incredible trip. I went on this trip many years ago. It was a little different back when I went on it. But it's something that, when I was an 8th grade student, kind of piqued my interest in how government works and how it works for the people. And I think it's important that every student, regardless of whatever their family income is, that they be able to attend this trip. The total cost for this trip is $900. It's a substantial amount, I think, for any family. And if you look at who's elected in Kenosha County, there are 23 of us, and there are 7 countywide elected officials. I have called several of them, and several of them have committed their support already. That would include the county executive, our county clerk, and our district attorney. And I'm waiting for phone calls back from the rest, and myself. So if you are willing and able, if we all donate $30, we can fund this trip for a low-income student. With any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me, or you can mail a check to KTEC. Just make it out to KTEC and then memo line Washington, D.C. trip, and they will make sure it gets to good students. Moving on from there, my last thing, it is with great excitement I share with everybody tonight a memo from the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff, David Beth, has selected Captain Miller to be the new Chief Deputy as of today. He assumed the position of Acting Chief Deputy and was accorded all responsibilities and privileges of that rank. I joined the Sheriff and everybody at the Sheriff's Department for congratulating Captain Miller on his new promotion and assignment, and we wish him all the best in his new position. He will serve alongside Chief Deputy Levin, similar to what we have going on at the City of Kenosha. We have 2 chiefs, if you will, until Chief Deputy's retirement early next year. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Nordigan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met last week for the Public Works Committee. I did send out all of the documents and reports that were generated prior to that meeting. And I just have a few things to fill in some gaps that were discussed while we were at that meeting that aren't on those documents. The Silver Lake Park fees were approved to be increased from $1 a person to $5 a person. And this was because when people would go in there, they would park in a non-Silver Lake beach area and walk in for $1, and it was creating a lot of overcrowding. So this $5 a person also helps offset the cost of having people out there who are cleaning the beaches and all that. So we don't expect there to be too much of an issue with that. In facilities, the KCAP security modifications, there were 2 defective panes of bulletproof glass that needed to be replaced, and it's either been completed this week or will be completed this week. From Director Billingsley, the Human Services building plan design is about 95% complete. The architects are still waiting on DWD, Department of Workforce Development, from the state for their office, their layout in the area, and the architects are still evaluating storage spaces. Some of the plans have been submitted to the City of Kenosha for their plan commission, and we will submit the remainder when completed. I guess to piggyback on what has previously been spoken about, what came up also was the lack of the approval of the CIP. When I spoke to Director Billingsley and asked her what will happen if we don't get our 2023 CIP funds, Will we be able to plow snow this winter? And yes, we'll keep the roads going, as well as the highway department does such a great job on. But there won't be any road repavement projects unless we can quote some municipalities on their road projects and the like. And I think they're attempting to do that, but I haven't heard yet, or we haven't heard yet, what that's about. So that would mean a reduction in the repavement projects, cause up to 20 or 24 employees to get laid off. And one other note, in that road projects, the county highway project that is under, it's not designed yet, but there's a public information meeting on December 15th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Wilmot High School in the library. And anyone who would like to attend, especially those who live out that way and use that road, they're looking for input from those who live and have business in the area and frequent the area. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other supervisors? Any other supervisor? Seeing none, supervisor comments are closed.
County executive appointments. Number 28, Constance Carr to serve on the Kenosha County Human Services Board.
Refer to Human Services Committee.
29, Nancy Kemp to serve on the Kenosha County Library System Board.
Refer to Finance Committee.
Old Business Ordinance, second reading to required. Ordinance 7 from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance regarding proposed amendment to the Kenosha County General Zoning and Shoreline Floodplain Zoning Ordinance in accordance with Section 59.694, Sub 2A of the Wisconsin State Statutes to revise the minimum parcel area and width requirements within the A4 Agricultural Land Holding District. This passed unanimously at committee with Supervisors Carroll, O'Day, and Berg excused.
Supervisor Geschke.
Mr. Chair, I move ordinance 7.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Geschke, second by Supervisor Franco. Supervisor Geschke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Currently, the ordinance has parcels sized at least 35 acres and a 600 feet frontage setback. This amendment would allow for parcels as small as 40,000 square feet and a 150-foot frontage. This would allow for more creative ways and more efficient ways of developing in general sense. Director Andy Bueller is here tonight to answer any further questions that the board may have, but this did pass our committee unanimously, and we ask for your support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Passes.
Communications 33, communication from Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, a resolution to approve a leave of absence for David W. Zorner to hold the office of sheriff.
Refer to Judiciary and Law Committee and Finance Committee.
34, a communication from Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, a resolution to approve the Kenosha County Sheriff's Detentions Division request to renew the operating agreement commissary services with Aramark Correctional Services, LLC.
Refer to Judiciary and Law Committee.
The approval of the November 15th, 2022 minutes by Supervisor Nedwesky.
Supervisor Nedwesky.
I move the approval of the minutes.
Moved by Supervisor Nedwesky, second by Supervisor Rodriguez. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adjourn by Supervisor Rodriguez, second by Supervisor Stoker. Any comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Remember, you can bring your statement of economic interest up.
That much.
Yes. Come on up, Tim.